Welcome to She, ladies. We are a dynamic group of driven women from all backgrounds and all walks of life who have come together to create generational wealth, build meaningful relationships, grow personally, professionally, and spiritually. She builds, she invests, she is me, and she is you. Welcome, ladies.
Yay.
So today's topic is how real estate changed my life. So the ladies here, we're going to be on the panel and speaking about how real estate changed our lives personally. So I'll go ahead and go first, if that's okay. So growing up, just give y'all backstory. Growing up, I wasn't taught about passive income or investing in anything. My parents both raised me very traditional, like most Americans here, middle-class Americans, where you go to work, you make good money, and you try to stay out of debt, and you complete that aspect of your life. And somewhere in there, you throw in marriage and you throw in children, hope for the best, and prayers be with y'all. So that was the beginning of my life. You don't know what you don't know. I can't blame my parents for what they didn't know. Oh, Edwin, mute. So at 18 years old, I was pregnant and married. And at that point, I knew in my life that my life was forever going to change. And I knew that it was my responsibility to own up to what I was about to encounter, which was my little girl coming into this world. I knew I had full responsibility for her. So I knew that I wanted to teach her things I didn't know. I wanted to change the trajectory of her life to make it different from the way that I grew up. I didn't have a rough life. So I am extremely thankful for my parents and how they raised me and how they tried their best. So getting into the real estate journey, I actually started with $1,000 invested into a REIT, a real estate investment trust. I was extremely scared. I was also taught you hold on to your money, just like a lot of us were taught, and you don't take any risk. So I was scared, and you would have thought 1,000 was 100,000. To be honest, I actually used a credit card just in case it was a scam. So that's my story with that. It turned out good. That was the initial investment for myself. So since then, I joined joint venture next, and I put a good penny into that real estate investment deal. It was an apartment, small 16-unit complex. Then from there, I went into a larger multifamily syndication with a sponsor team. I really started to realize, hey, the more money I dump into these assets, tangible assets, which apartments, real estate isn't going anywhere, the more I'll see a return on my investment. So my plan immediately changed from putting it in a bank account and saving there. The other thing I will say that my mother, bless her heart, taught us was we fill a blue gallon with coins and dollar bills, and that was going to be our Christmas money and our spending money for special things. So again, I love them dearly, and they didn't know what they didn't know. But my goal in life now is to change, again, the trajectory of my kids' life, to educate myself, to invest in myself, and teach them things that they should know, if that makes sense. So my real estate investments started to progress, and fast forward to today, I am an active real estate investor. I have 671 doors. I am part of an amazing team. I love my job. I love real estate. I love investing. And to me, I feel like I truly have found my purpose and a meaning, another meaning to my life. And I just get true joy at, sharing this same knowledge with people who, one, don't have exposure to this, don't have the network, and then also who were like I was, and making that change and walking them through that process, because it could be a scary process. But again, that was my real estate journey. That is how real estate changed my life. I will say, if you have a thought, start small and then continue from there. You don't have to take these big jumps into investing. You don't have to be, a set active investor. You don't have to be a set passive investor. Decide what works for you and then go from there. To be honest, I spent 13 years in the corporate world, climbing the corporate ladder, and I was never truly satisfied with my job. So it made sense for me to venture to something else. So I just so happened to say, I'm diving completely into real estate and I want to be on the active investment side. So that is my story. We will go to Candace. Candace, how did real estate change your life?
Thanks, Angela. That was a great story. I'm so glad you shared it with all of us here this evening. So my real estate journey is a little different, but then some similar to yours, I think, Angela. I got investing into real estate through a real estate club. And so, just to give you a little background about my journey and my life and why real estate is now so important in my life and how it really changed my life is my whole life growing up, I basically was chasing passive income. I grew up on a farm, and we were the type of people that the sun came up, you worked, the sun goes down, you sleep. And we worked hard every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365. You had to take care of the animals. You had to do all kinds of things. You were always trading your time for basically dollars, because you had to take care of all these things, which at the end of the day helped to make money. And so my journey was one of which always having an entrepreneurial spirit and being my own boss, because I thought that's really the best way that I could have control of my time. And although every single business I've ever been in or ever have had, you still are trading your actual time for dollars, but you're leveraging it because you're building a business, and that business you own, and that business you can eventually sell and hopefully make good money doing it. But all the businesses I've ever owned, you still had to do a lot of effort. You still had to put a lot of work into it. It wasn't truly a passive way to make money. It wasn't investing. It wasn't putting $1 in and getting $2 later and not really doing anything for it. And I found real estate probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and it really opened my eyes because I had always known to invest, and I'd always taken dollars and invested in stocks and bonds and mutual funds and things of that nature. But I never really felt like I had a good understanding of, if it was going to do X, Y, or Z for me, and how it was going to really do something for me in the now. I always thought, this money I'll never see until I retire, and I just hope and pray that it's enough so that if I ever decide to quit working, that I'll have a substantial amount of money that I can live on. And so when I got introduced to real estate, I realized I don't have to always work my whole entire life and then worry about selling a business and being able to live off of those dollars, because I could take some of the money that historically I'd been putting away and double it every 3 to 5 years. And that was a whole new concept to me, because I had never made more than 5 to 10% on the stocks and bonds and things that I invested. And I always thought I was a pretty savvy investor, quite frankly, because I was always hitting those dollar figures that every financial advisor would say, this is the average and you're above average. So I just always went through my investing world, or my investing thoughts as, oh, I'm doing better than average, so that's great. And what I really did when I took this first initial investment that I made in this real estate club that I joined, is I really saw the opportunity to the rule of 72, and to see the money grow. So that really opened my eyes, and it really changed the way I thought about money as well. And having something tangible that I could see and I knew everyone could use and have, and always be there, like an apartment. Someone's always going to be renting an apartment if it's in a good location and things of that nature. It just really made sense to me. And so it really changed my whole way of thinking about money and my mindset around money, because I always thought it was just a vehicle for later, like you invested for later. It didn't really do anything for you in the now. And so as that happened for me, it also changed my relationship with my husband, because I would always let him take care of our investing, and I never really got too involved in how our investing dollars were spent. And it really made me, in my mind, more of an equal player in our future and our dollars. And I really felt like I was able to change the trajectory of when he could potentially stop working full time on his W-2 and those kinds of things. So it, in a very short amount of time, it's really changed our whole outlook for my husband and I, and how we're going to spend time together, and not have all this W-2 stuff hanging over his head, working 60 or 70 hours a week. So that's really been a great benefit for me and my husband. And I also can say that the time I'm spending in other areas, giving back, has opened up as well, because I'm not having to spend as much time in some of my other businesses. I've been able to sell them, make a profit, and have more time for myself, so I can really get involved in other projects. So that's been a huge asset for me. And so, Maria, tell us your real estate journey and how real estate changed your life.
Well, thank you, Candace, and thank you for sharing a little more insight into your life and where you have come from and how you made it to where you are today. I love learning about it. But to know how much it's changed my life, you have to know where I came from. And fortunately, I might not paint myself in such a great light, but when I was younger, I thought that everyone kind of did and invested the same way. I thought we all went to school, we got good grades, we got a good job, got married, and had kids, and then that was it. That's kind of the life plan that I was on. And when I was with my now husband, we the only time we really talked about finances was once a month when we had to pay bills, and we were trying to pay off our mortgage. We wanted to live debt free, but that was really the extent of the financial knowledge that I ever knew or ever thought about. And I was perfectly content with that. I was working in a hospital. Helping people was the only thing I focused on, was helping people and my family. So that was all I cared about. And then some of you have heard my story, but my father-in-law passed away. And that changed so much in my life because it really made me think about how that would affect my life, and what if that happened to me? What if I was the one in charge of the finances? What if I had to take control? Could I do that? And the answer was no. I didn't know our finances. I didn't know more on how to pay bills. I didn't know that information. So I really wanted to understand it. My husband sat me down and he said, we need to be on the same page. And we need to be on the same page because I want to get into multifamily real estate. So that kind of made our focus shift a little bit. I now was learning about multifamily, something I'd never thought about ever. And that was a new mindset for me. I had to unlearn everything I had learned the past 30 years and reteach myself about investing, about generational wealth, terms that I never thought I would ever need to know. But in all of this learning and mindset coaching and all of these new groups that we had joined, I realized that I was living my life on a hamster wheel where I was doing the same thing every day. I was around the same people, and I was living very selfishly for myself. I wasn't living for other people or generations to come. And that's what real estate's given me. Real estate has given me a new mindset. It's given me a way to think so much bigger than I ever thought was possible. I now think, like Candace had mentioned, about giving back, about my new goal is writing a check for $1 million, not 1 million little checks, a one check for $1 million to a charity. That's now my mindset of thinking. That's how big I think. And it also gave me the ability to help others. Now that I've understood and continue to understand real estate, it's given me that ability to help others, and in more ways than I ever did in the hospital. So real estate has changed my life completely. I now care about finances. I have a new mindset in life. And I hope that me showing you a little bit of insight and showing you what I didn't know will help you guys all see that you know so much and that real estate has, like me, changed your lives as well. So a little bit more about me. And now I want to take it to Brooke. Brooke, tell us why real estate has changed your life.
I love Maria's story, and I've actually told it to quite a few people because what happened to her father-in-law kind of jump-started her to think of other people in her life, right? And being a mom, that kind of helped jumpstart that for me as well, and having, 4 daughters of color. So I'll rewind a little bit. My childhood and upbringing was very scrappy, to say the least. And I grew up where majority of my childhood, I had a single mom, and we relied on church and we relied on the government and everything else, and food stamps and trading in cans for dollars to, we were just always in survival mode. And even at a point we were, having a couch hop because my mom had got out of a relationship, and unfortunately the man was taking care of everything. And so that's why I'm so pushy on my daughters that you can want a man or a woman and have a partnership, but don't be so reliant that you can't take care of yourself. Okay. So growing up, nobody was investing. We never owned our own home. It was very turbulent. And I knew once I became a mom, I wanted stability for my family. And once I started reading a few books and I attended a few seminars and I joined the different clubs, it just opened up my mind to the possibilities of what is out there. So the biggest takeaways, one, I have learned that wealthy people aren't bad. Not all rich and wealthy people just screw people over to get money. Like, they truly want to help people out, and people want to grow their wealth so they can make a difference. So that was one of the lessons, which is why, going back to what Maria said, my mind is so much bigger that I know the possibility of creating La Escuela de Ceballos Piñero in Guatemala, where they only get a 7th grade education, because I've been sponsoring Nina Sofia for over 2 years. And it really opens up your heart and what is possible, right? So you're taking care of yourself while taking care of others. So it's not about this being selfish and always just want, which kind of goes back to my second, because there's pros and cons on this journey. I would say the top 3 takeaways is, one, it has taught me to rely on making money for me, one. 2, not relying on the corporate world. I am less reliant on my job now. I only need a portion of what I make. And if they really wanted to say, hey, you guys are all gone, I would be okay. Maybe for several months, right? And then me and my husband, I've been able to retire my husband from his W-2 because of this journey. So he has left his W-2. We have started 2 businesses. I've also been a lot more spiritual, because when you're on this journey of being an entrepreneur, there's a lot of faith over fear that you have to tell yourself. And there's a lot of praying. Like, I was already a very spiritual, not a very religious, but I'm a very spiritual person, God, that we're all connected, energy. And I definitely have a stronger conversation, or like when I meditate, it's like meditation is like a date for God when I don't know the answers to something, right? So I've definitely stepped up my spirituality, as well as learning what is truly possible. And now my kids Now, see that they don't have to work a W-2 if they don't want to. I think the con of this, which is actually probably a pro, is no more frivolous spending. So before, I'm like, oh, I paid off all my debt, I got promoted, I'm gonna go buy this new $3,000 purse, which now I'm embarrassed to carry, because for me now my goal is no expensive frivolous items that do not give me an ROI unless I have at least 100K in my bank account, right? So essentially I have learned to, give back more, be more spiritual, and know that the future is limitless for me. So that is what my biggest takeaways. And I'm going to pass the torch to Jasmine.
Thank you, Brooke. That was such an, I mean, I have heard your story several times, but today was very special. So thank you so much for sharing. And well, my story, I was very blessed to have a dad, an entrepreneur dad. So I always say I have the mentor at home. Like growing up, it was just like save money, save money, save money, and what are you gonna do? Like I always say like I didn't read Poor Dad Rich Dad until I was 19, but good thing my dad read it like a long time ago. So everything that he was teaching me wasn't that model that a home is not an asset, it's a liability. Are you gonna be working for corporate America, but you're not gonna be building wealth? This is just a rat race and all that. So growing up, I didn't really know what he was saying, but I was just listening, right? So I was just you growing up just working, saving money, and this is where my first real estate transaction happened. Because at one point I saved about $45,000 on my bank account, and this was like working from fast food, to getting in sales and all that. But I got my first $45,000, and I knew I wanted to open a business. I just didn't know what kind of business, but I was like, my dad was like, if you're gonna start a business, you're gonna need money, whatever you're gonna do. So here I am with $45,000, and I'm like, okay, I can do a business. I'm pretty sure I can do something, but I didn't have idea on what to do. So which was more frustrating. So because then you see all the gurus on internet, they start a 9-figure business with $10,000, and I was like, oh, what am I doing with my life? Anyways, so I was like, okay, while I figure something out, I'm gonna buy a piece of land. I was trying to get a house. I was trying to buy a duplex, a triplex, living one side, rent the other ones, all these things that you guys have here about real estate. But I wasn't ready to do that, and I knew that wasn't the way to go. So I was like, I don't know yet, but I'm gonna just put the money into a piece of land while I figure something out. Long story short, a few months after I realized I didn't get such a good deal on that piece of land. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna sell it. And first rule to invest is never lose money. So bought it for 40, sold it for 45, and I was like, okay, that was good. And I started doing that over and over again, and it turned into a 7-figure business, and that was really cool. I was like, okay, well, never look back, right? However, I knew I wanted to stay in real estate. I knew there was something else that I was like, what should I do next? And I started again exploring all the venues on real estate, and I came across multifamily, and everything made sense to me. How quick you can scale. The biggest aha moment that I had was like, so you're telling me instead of owning one home, I can own a whole building? I was like, yes, okay, I'm in. Sign me up. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't have the network. I didn't have the brain, anything. But I was like, I'm in. I'm committed. So I just start connecting with people, and I will say here is the first way that real estate changed my life. Just because I had that business and I was selling land, I was able to do seller finance on a few of the properties. So that means like I sold them, and I was the bank. So I was getting, I'm still getting $2,000 on just passive income, right? So that was just like, that just gave me freedom and not being scared of how I'm gonna pay for rent, how I'm gonna pay for food. I mean, 2,000 is not a lot. Of course, you can live the best life, but at least it gives you some safety. So I knew 2,000 were gonna come into my bank account regardless of anything, if I work, if I don't, anything. So that was the best. The first things that real estate changed my life. I was like, oh, this is pretty nice, having money every month. Okay, this is perfect. So that allowed me to start working in multifamily pretty much for free. Let's be real, in multifamily, we are playing the long term. You're not getting paid right away. This is this is a whole nother conversation, but everything that we are doing in multifamily or new construction is in the long term. We're not getting paid today. So that gave me the safety to be working pretty much almost for 2 years or 1.5 years free. But I knew I was safe. I knew I didn't have to go live back with my parents and ask for food, right? So that was the first thing that changed my life. Like never look back. I'm on the right path. Just to start growing my portfolio, getting into bigger deals, just like Maria said, like expanding my mindset and allowing myself to own more property, to be able to cash flow for several properties, like just being exposed to that, I would say like that's probably my biggest flex, being able to work for free, just learning the multifamily, connecting, being in the room, I pretty much, that was like my biggest luxury that I have done in my life, because that just opens so many doors for what is happening now and what is going to be happening in the future. So that's how I started in real estate. That was number one, the one reason why that changed my life. And probably the second one, it's my dad and my family. Of my dad, as I told you guys, he's an entrepreneur. He has worked so hard. He has built a great life for us, but I want to show them the next level. My family hasn't tasted the next level, and I want to be the one who opens the doors for that next level. So everything that I do is just, of course, for my family, but for others. When Maria said, like, I want to write a check for 1 million to charity, I have it on my vision board. I have $1 million bill, and it's like to charity, because I'm like, if I'm donating 1 million a year, how much money do I need to make in order to be okay, right? So I also have that goal. It's about giving back. I will say, like, all Jasmine will say, like, oh, I'm on track to retire at 35, guys. But now that I see all the exposure that we have, everything, like, the sky is the limit. I mean, retiring myself at 35 is not doing anything for anybody else but being selfish and for myself. So definitely my goals have 10x, 100x, take to real estate on all my partners, all the people that I have surrounded myself with. So yes, that was my story.
I
Thank you,
love that. I
Jasmine.
love that, Jasmine. I just love that. I love the statement about retiring too. As you know, a farm girl, you don't retire. When you retire, it's because you're dead. So I love that. I love that.
I just loved how many similarities there were between all 5 of our very different stories. It just shows that with real estate, it really does open up your mind to thinking about not only yourself, but thinking about so many more people. And I love that. I love that we can all have such different backgrounds and come together for a shared dream to create generational wealth through passive income. I love it.
Yes, and another thing that we all had in common, and this is one of the reasons why I love empowering women and making sure women are educated enough and take control of their finances is because all of us talk about helping others, helping charities, helping families, helping our own legacy. So when women are okay, like we, and there's a stat, I know it, I don't have it on top of my brain right now, but when women are making money, they help more. So all the community gets improved, gets help. We are that's I mean that's I guess another benefit of being a woman. Like we just care. We're so caring about others. So I love that because if we are okay, we're gonna be able to change millions of lives.
Well, I will add to that, Jasmine. It's like God has gifted women. You know, you give her something small, like you give her a piece of bread, she's going to make you a meal. So I really think that no matter what, we multiply it and then we give to others and make sure others are taken care of. So I really love that.
Yes, and that's why I'm so passionate about she. She builds, she owns, she invests. Like she is me, but you guys can hear it. She is you. She's all of us. I'm super excited for this brand, for this community that we are building, because I know we're gonna change thousands and millions of lives. So thank you so much for joining this community.
I would love to hear from other people. You know, is there anybody in the audience that has a story that they would like to share of how real estate has changed their life? Don't be shy, y'all.
And we understand everybody's on their own journey as well. So like I said, an initial step is a first step to whatever that leads to, whether that's active or passive investment. We still want to hear, we're here to help. So if y'all want to share, we want to hear.
Okay, I'll go.
Yeah,
There
surely.
you go.
I was
I,
gonna
I,
call
I,
you anyway.
I just
Yeah.
got home
Break
and
the ice.
I just got home from work and trying to get settled and get my dog out. But okay, so so my story, it's very similar to Brooks, right? I didn't come from, you know, a stable home, right? My parents came to the United States, left me in the Dominican Republic with other family members who didn't quite treat me well, right? And so when I came to the United States, I thought that I had it good because now I'm reunited with my mom. Lo and behold, my mom had a gambling problem, right? So what does that tell you? That there's a limited mindset there. There's a lack of mindset. And so all of my childhood, I had to take care of my brothers and I, and try to push through and try to figure it out on my own. My mom and my dad were divorced when I came to the United States, and it was two of the extremes, right? My mom had a lack of resource mentality, and then my dad was a blue collar guy who worked so much to death, right? And never had time for anything, and then there's never money for anything because he just works to pay the bills, right? So it was the two extremes. And so I think my ticket way out was through the military because I found myself very lost in New York and I needed to find a way out. So when I left into the military, that was my time to be independent, to make my own money, right? I just wanted to go for 3 years, get the college money, and be gone, right? But then 9/11 hit, and that kind of rung in my heart, and I'm like, okay, I feel like I gotta serve now, right? Because I lived in New York and I was there when the towers got hit, right? So I experienced that firsthand. So I knew that there was something there in my life, and 3 years passed and my contract was up for the military, and they were like, well, you have one of those jobs that are very critical. We'll give you $15,000 to re-enlist and stay another 3 years, right? And that was thank you, Angela. And that was kind of like the thing for me. I did it every 3 years. I re-enlisted, and I had one of those jobs that were critical and gave me that extra money. So I knew in my mind that I wanted to save the money, right? Because I never had anything, right? This is the first time that I ever had anything in my life. And so I wanted to start to invest, and I invested traditionally, because, you know, I was deploying, I was working, I was training all the time. And so I needed my money to be somewhere, even though I didn't really quite know what I was going to do. So it ended up being that I stayed for 20 years, very adventurous and fruitful, successful career. But I knew that I needed to hang up the gloves. And so this is one of those crossroads where you're in a bubble, right? Where you got people telling you what to do, when to wake up, what to eat, when to eat, how to dress, you know. And so I knew that I needed to change my life and do something different. And so I knew that I wanted to go back to the passions that I had before I went into the military. I've always been a creative. And so I was like, I wanted to create something for me, but I know that I wanted to break that cycle of my family just relying on food stamps. And there was nothing, never enough. And I just couldn't understand that. And so I took the leap of faith, and started my own business, right? Even though after the military, I did go into a startup just to kind of see how a real job worked, because I never had a job in my life other than the military, right? I was like, okay, let me try this, right? It was a startup, great guys, but I knew, I was like, oh my God, I hate this, right? Like the people, I love the people, but I knew that wasn't it. And I left it after 7 months. I'm like, okay, let me take a sabbatical and figure out what the heck I wanted to do with my life. And that's when I started writing kind of a little bit of a synopsis of my life story, and I became an author, right? And then because I didn't have anything established, I knew that I had to get another job. But this time it needed to be something that I really love, which is teaching. And so I got another opportunity to teach, and I took that. But again, that was with the stipulation that I knew that I wanted to get out of the corporate world. So this time I was very intentional about doing the job, but also utilizing the money to invest in real estate, right? And so my first investment was in a 168 unit. And, you know, I read about it. I attended Zooms. I've been connected with all you lovely ladies. And I was like, wow, I love this. Like, I love architecture first and foremost. So buildings and apartments, for me, I'm just obsessed with it, to be quite honest with you. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day. I'm like, man, I'm just a little obsessed with this. I don't know what it is. So I'm just following you, right? And so I invested in a 168 unit. I just saw all the benefits that come with investing in real estate, and now shifting from a traditional investment sense to now more of a non-traditional type, right? Where, you know, you're getting your K1s and you're seeing the tax breaks and the depreciation and all of this stuff. I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy, right? And so that, coupled with creation of my business, is what's pushing me forward to do that, right? And also because I love providing a household for people, right? Because you're also investing in that, right? You're investing in a household for others to live in, right? And upgrading their way of life and in their environment. And so that really, really touched me and kept me moving forward to investing. Now I invested in another one, and I'm like almost 500 units now that I've invested. I'm like, man, this is cray, right? Like, okay, let me have my money work for me. And so I just keep leveling up, right? I keep trusting the process. I think the point here is know what you want in your life, be sure of that. Break the cyclical curse of the family, of the lack and you know, putting the money underneath the mattress. And for a lot of Hispanic families, it's like that, unfortunately, right? They listen to this and they think that it's a scam or is whatever, because all they know is to work hard 9 to 5 for freaking 30 years. And when they're 65 and 70, they almost can't even do anything. Like my dad, bless his heart, hard worker, but he has such arthritis that he can't even hold anything in his hand. Like it's crazy, right? And I'm like, I'm never gonna be like that. And my mom, we retired together because the military is one of those unique careers where you can retire at 20 years. We retired, my mom, my dad, and myself retired, us three together. And my mom had to go back to work because her shitty, and I'm sorry to say that, 401k was nothing. And I was like, I will never be like that, right? I will never be like that. So for me, my journey is to break the generational curse of having to work to your almost crippled, you know, be an example for my family, for them to know that there's another way of doing things and that you can still be successful without going through the traditional way of things. I want to break the status quo. That's my.
And it takes one person to break the whole generation. So I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. It's incredible how each of us have the power to not just change our lives, but the whole generation break through a whole next level. So thank you so much. That was amazing. Anybody else, ladies? We have a few minutes. We're gonna go to breakout rooms. So if you have
Brenda wants to.
Yes.
Who?
Brenda wants to
Brenda.
share.
Go, please.
Hey everybody, I'm Brenda. I don't know if everybody knows me, but y'all should, because I'm amazing. No, I'm from Austin and I got into the multifamily 4 months ago. I'm already an LP and a deal. And I came from a background just like all of y'all. I'm an immigrant. I came from Mexico without no like status, which is one of the hardest things coming. Your parents think they're doing the best for you, and you just, you're 5 years old, you think your parents know it all, but like you said, they're all learning with you and stuff. And I lived in a mobile home, 2-bedroom, 6 families and 1 mobile home, grew up paycheck to paycheck and didn't have anything. We didn't have Christmases. We had the churches, like y'all said, churches give you presents and that's your Christmas. And the government giving you money, and it's just like, you're thankful for that. But I was like, I know there's a way to break those barriers. Just because it was implanted in you when you're young doesn't mean you have to carry it for the rest of your life. Like, you had the chance and the opportunity to break those like generation curses, like Brooke was saying, those, like, keeping that faith and surrounding yourself with individuals like y'all, like the like, I feel like seeing your motivation, it motivates me to be like, hey, yeah, I came from nothing, but that doesn't define me. That just gives me the purpose to become something great, and, I went to the book signing and I'd heard each and every one of your story, which impacted me, but like, I'm going to be in that, it might take a while. Like y'all said, it's not an overnight sensation, but it's just like, keeping one foot forward and just like, hey, learning from individuals like you, networking. And I'm just so grateful for y'all. And this is just the beginning of something great. I just know it.
Oh, I love that. I love that, Brenda. You have such an excitement for this that just keeps us going as well. And just having you there has made me want to be even better than what I'm doing right now. So thank you, because I love hearing your excitement and I know you're going to go far and it's not going to take as long as you think, I promise.
That's the other thing. Like, we are shortcutting time for everybody ahead of us. Like, for me, I was telling my siblings this past weekend, and I want to share with you guys. Like, it took me 30 years to hit my first million. So yeah, it's a long time. I want you guys to compress that. Like, if I can do anything to fast track that for you guys, I will do it. But we just need to put the effort. So I love that. Thank you so much. Awesome. So we're gonna go to breakout rooms, ladies. Let's connect with each other. For those who didn't have time to connect, please go ahead.
Welcome back, ladies.
I got cut off, so I'm going to keep talking. So sorry. So Shannon, yes, retiring from your W-2 is the hardest thing. And even just being done with it was a huge shock for me. but I had to make sure that I could really understand real estate, was in the right group, was around the right people, so that I could lean on them when I really needed them. And 2 years, yeah, you can do that. 2 years,
I can.
make it a year and a half. Let's go. You got it.
Okay, you got it. Thank you.
That's what I came.
There's a back noise, or you're in the water somewhere.
I didn't think Houston had water.
Oh, we got Galveston water. It's beautiful.
Oh, look at that. See, I'm learning geography.
Just kidding. It's not a beautiful beach, but hey, it's water.
Awesome. I think we can wrap it up. You guys can hear me now?
Kinda.
Okay. What I was saying is like, just set your goals like this. Hopefully, this webinar helped you understand. No, you can hear me.
No.
It goes in and out.
Okay. I will say that she did drop our link in the chat. So if you showed up today and you like what you saw, please continue to keep coming in and visiting with us. We love the breakout rooms because it's more intimate. I've seen Shirley everywhere. I actually just had a conversation with her today virtually, so I'm excited about that. But again, we're so thankful that y'all came and y'all spent time with us, and we'll see y'all next time.
Bye, everyone. Have a good night.
one.
It was nice
Thank
meeting
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a
Thank
good
Nice
night.
meeting
y'all.
you.
Nice seeing you all.